My boyfriend cheated on me with his coworker after promising he'd never betray me. Years later, he lost everything while I rebuilt my life, found real love, and became more successful than he ever imagined. I used to think love meant trust, the kind that runs bone deep, where you don't have to second-guess a text message, a late-night call, or a change of plans. Ethan Reynolds taught me that trust can sometimes be the prettiest lie a person tells you before tearing your heart out. It started innocently enough, a Friday morning in late July. Seattle was soaked in sunlight, rare for the city, and the air carried that kind of warmth that makes you want to believe good things are coming. Ethan and I had been dating for almost 3 years then, living together for 1.5. We had an apartment overlooking Lake Union, with succulents on the windowsill and a shared Google Calendar that somehow made us feel like adults. That morning, as I was tying my hair into a bun, Ethan said it casually, like it was no big deal. "Babe, just a heads up, my cousin Caroline's wedding is next weekend. I'm gonna fly out Saturday morning." I paused, lipstick halfway to my lips. "Oh, cool. Are we flying or driving?" He smiled, that easy grin that used to melt me. "Actually, it's a family-only event. You know how Caroline is with her traditions. No plus ones." Something tugged at me, faint but sharp. "Really? Even after you've been together for 3 years?" He shrugged, sipping his coffee. "Yeah, her fiancé's side is super conservative. It's awkward enough for them blending 2 big families. You know how those things go." I didn't, but I nodded anyway. Ethan was good at saying things that sounded reasonable. That night, I mentioned it to Maya, my best friend since college, while we were closing a campaign report at work. She froze mid-keystroke. "Wait, family only? Girl, that's shady as hell." I laughed it off. "Maya, not everyone's wedding is a +1 fest." "Sure," she said, side-eyeing me. "But this man took you to his office holiday party where people wore ugly sweaters and did karaoke. You're telling me you're not invited to his cousin's wedding?" I tried to keep my voice light. "He said it's complicated." "Uh-huh, so is algebra and lies." I ignored the pit forming in my stomach. Maya had a sharp intuition about people, and it made me uncomfortable when she turned it on someone I loved. The week of the wedding came quickly. Ethan left early Saturday morning, suitcase packed, giving me a quick kiss goodbye. "I'll be back Sunday night, okay? Don't wait up too late." "Text me when you land," I said. He smiled. "Always do." Except he didn't. I checked my phone obsessively that morning. No message. No landed safely. Not even a story post, which, for Ethan, was weird. He was always on social media, especially during family events. Still, I told myself to stop being paranoid. I went for a walk, bought groceries, tried to distract myself. I even FaceTimed Maya, who was sprawled on her couch painting her nails. "He's fine," she said. "If something was wrong, you'd know." Sunday morning, I woke up to a dozen Instagram notifications. Caroline had posted her wedding photos, and that's when my stomach dropped. Ethan was in the pictures, standing next to a blonde woman in a pale blue dress. She had her hand wrapped around his arm, her head tilted toward his shoulder like she belonged there. They were slow dancing in one clip, her laughing as he whispered something in her ear. In another, she was wearing his suit jacket while he kissed her temple. The caption read, "The most beautiful couple at my wedding. Love you both." My heart stopped. I clicked through the comments with shaking hands. Ethan's mom had written, "Finally, a daughter-in-law I can be proud of." My chest tightened. Daughter-in-law, what the hell was happening? I sat there in silence for almost 10 minutes, staring at the screen as my thoughts crashed like thunder. Maya was the first person I called. She picked up instantly. "Liv, what's wrong?" "Check Caroline's Instagram," I whispered. A few seconds later, "Holy oh my God, Liv, is that?" "Yeah." "That's not you." "I know." The rest of the day blurred. I couldn't eat, couldn't cry. It felt like my entire world had tilted off its axis. I screenshotted everything, the photos, the comments, even the tagged profiles. The blonde woman was tagged as at Amanda Brooks Finance. I clicked her profile. Public. perfectly curated. Travel photos, rooftop dinners, champagne glasses clinking with Ethan in the background of several shots. My breath hitched. She'd been there during his work trips, during late meetings. There was even one photo captioned, "Anniversary dinner with my favorite human," followed by a red heart, posted on the night of my birthday, when Ethan had said he was too sick to come over. That was the moment my disbelief turned into fury. I didn't text him, I didn't call, I just waited. Sunday night around 10:30 p.m., Ethan came home. I was sitting on the couch, lights dimmed, phone in my lap. He looked surprised to see me awake. "Hey, babe," he said, dropping his suitcase by the door. "You're up late." I said nothing, just stared. He frowned. "What's wrong?" "Did you have fun at the wedding?" He froze for a fraction of a second. Yeah, it was good. Kinda boring, honestly, small crowd." "Oh," I said softly, "is that why your date wore your jacket?" The color drained from his face. "What?" I stood, holding up my phone. "Caroline's Instagram, you and Amanda Brooks. Care to explain why your cousin called you the most beautiful couple?" He stammered. "Liv, it's not what it looks like." "Then what is it, Ethan?" He rubbed his neck, eyes darting anywhere but at me. "Amanda's just a friend. Her date bilayed last minute, and Caroline said it'd be fine if..." I laughed bitterly. So the family-only rule didn't apply to her. "Liv, please. I didn't want to upset you. You've been stressed lately, and I thought..." I cut him off. "You thought lying to me would be better than being honest." He tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. That night ended with him, sleeping on the couch, and me crying quietly into my pillow. But that wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Because 2 days later, I discovered Amanda's hidden Instagram stories, the ones visible only to her close friends. And there, clear as daylight, was Ethan's reflection in her bathroom mirror, wearing the same shirt he'd worn to our anniversary dinner last year. I stared at Amanda's story for what felt like an hour, Ethan's reflection caught in the bathroom mirror, his arms wrapped around her waist, his phone on the counter with our matching lock screen glowing faintly. I remember whispering to myself, "That's my wallpaper." It was the photo we'd taken during a road trip to Cannon Beach, the day he told me I was his forever. My chest physically hurt. I couldn't breathe properly, couldn't think. I scrolled back through Amanda's posts, combing through every caption, every background, every shadow that looked remotely like Ethan. There he was, faintly visible at the edge of her pictures at rooftop bars, in the reflection of a wine glass, behind her shoulder during a concert. He wasn't even hiding well. The next morning, I called Maya before work. My voice was flat, almost robotic. "He's been cheating for months, maybe a year." Maya's voice cracked through the phone. "Liv, come to my place tonight. Don't stay there with him." But I couldn't leave. Not yet. Not until I got answers. When Ethan came home that evening, I was sitting at the dining table with his laptop open. He froze at the doorway. "Why are you on my computer?" "Because you logged into Chrome and didn't log out." My voice shook. "And because I found your hotel receipts, your shared Uber rides, your restaurant reservations, all with her name on them." He took a step forward. "Liv, listen." "No, you listen," I shouted. "You lied about everything. You said you were working late. You said you were sick. You said you were building a future with me." He ran a hand through his hair, packing. "I didn't mean for it to get serious. It just happened." I laughed bitterly. It just happened, like tripping over your morals and falling into another woman's bed. He winced, but I didn't care. I was too far gone. "What hurts the most," I said quietly, "is that I defended you. When Maya told me to trust my gut, I said you'd never do this. I made excuses for you. You made me feel crazy for even asking." He looked down, guilt shadowing his face. "I'm sorry, Liv, I was scared of losing you." "You already did." That night, I packed a bag and drove to Maya's apartment. She didn't ask questions. She just wrapped me in a hug and let me sob into her sweatshirt until I fell asleep on her couch. The next few days were a blur of tears, numbness, and mechanical survival. I went to work, stared blankly at my screen, and tried to hold myself together. My boss, Elena Price, noticed something was off. She was in her early 40s, sharp, elegant, and one of those women who could sense a storm in someone's silence. She called me into her office one afternoon. "You look like you haven't slept in a week. Talk to me." I hesitated, but the kindness in her voice cracked my walls. I told her everything, the lies, the photos, the wedding, all of it. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and said, "You know what? I've been where you are. And I'll tell you something, heartbreak either destroys you or transforms you. You get to decide which." I nodded numbly, but her words stuck with me. That night, while scrolling through my old photos with Ethan, I noticed how much I'd changed in 3 years. My smile was smaller. My eyes looked tired. I'd lost pieces of myself trying to keep us alive. It hit me then. I'd been in love with a version of him that never existed. A week later, Ethan texted me. "Ethan, can we talk, please? I just want to explain." Me, "You already did, with your actions." Ethan, "Liv, I made a mistake. She means nothing to me." Me, "Funny. She looked like she meant a lot when she was wearing your jacket at the wedding." He called, but I didn't answer. Instead, I poured my energy into work. Elena assigned me to lead a new campaign, a massive opportunity that could fast-track my career. It was the first time I'd felt a spark of purpose since everything fell apart. Maya became my anchor. She'd drag me out of bed on weekends, force me to eat, and say things like, "You don't get to let that man ruin tacos for you too." Slowly, I started healing, or at least pretending well enough that people believed it. But life had a funny way of twisting the knife when you thought the bleeding had stopped. One evening, I got a call from Ethan's mom, Margaret Reynolds. I didn't even realize she still had my number. "Olivia, dear," she began, her voice sweet but laced with something sharp. "I just wanted to say I hope you find peace. Ethan told me everything." I swallowed hard. Everything. That you were insecure, controlling, always questioning his whereabouts. Men need space, Olivia. I clenched my jaw. Did he also tell you he took another woman to his cousin's wedding? There was a long pause. Then she sighed. "Well, sometimes people make mistakes. Amanda's a lovely girl, comes from a good family. You can't expect him to throw that away because of a misunderstanding." My grip tightened on the phone. A misunderstanding. He cheated on me for months. Her voice turned cold. "I think this conversation's over. I just wanted to wish you well." She hung up before I could respond. I stood there shaking, realizing for the first time how deeply his family had been complicit. They didn't just know, they approved. The next day, Maya stormed into my apartment with takeout and determination. "Okay, enough. We're reclaiming your life starting tonight. No crying, no stalking his socials. We're going out." I groaned. "Maya, I'm not in the mood." "I didn't ask if you were. You're coming. End of discussion." She dragged me to a cozy rooftop bar downtown. The city lights glittered below us, music thumping faintly through the floor. For the first time in weeks, I felt almost human again. That's when I met Liam Bennett. He was sitting at the bar, nursing a whiskey, reading something on his phone. Maya, ever the social butterfly, started chatting with him after noticing he was reading a book by her favorite author. Eventually, I joined the conversation cautiously, awkwardly. But Liam was kind. Not in the performative way Ethan used to be, but genuinely attentive. He asked questions. He listened. When I mentioned I worked in marketing, he smiled. "I'm in UX design. I think I've seen your company's ads around." We talked for hours. No flirting, no pretense, just easy conversation. When he left, he handed me his business card and said, "If you ever need a fresh perspective for your campaigns, or just a coffee break, I'm around." I tucked the card into my purse and thought I'd never use it. But over the next few weeks, we crossed paths again, once at a networking event, then at a mutual friend's birthday. Each time, it felt like the universe gently nudging me forward. I wasn't ready for love, but for the first time, I felt like maybe I'd survive this. Meanwhile, Ethan's picture-perfect world began to crumble. I heard from a mutual friend. His firm had caught wind of some internal drama. Amanda had apparently been bragging around the office about finally winning him over. HR got involved when it started affecting team morale. Soon after, Ethan was reassigned to a less prestigious client portfolio. Word spread quickly. The golden boy of the finance department had lost his shine. And yet, he still texted me. "Ethan, I miss you. Amanda wasn't what I thought. She's manipulative." Me, "So was your reflection in her bathroom mirror." "Ethan, you're cruel." Me, "No, I'm honest. Try it sometime." He stopped replying after that. By then, my career was taking off. Elena promoted me to senior marketing strategist after the campaign I led went viral. I started getting calls from other companies, invitations to conferences, and even a feature in a local business magazine. My parents were proud. My brother Daniel came to visit from Portland just to take me out for dinner and say, "You did it, Liv. You turned the worst thing in your life into fuel." It wasn't easy. The nights were still lonely sometimes, but the pain no longer controlled me, it shaped me. Then, one rainy Friday night, 3 months after everything fell apart, I got a voicemail from Ethan. His voice was frantic, slurred. "Liv, please call me back. I made a mistake. Everything's gone to hell. She left me my job on the line, and I don't know what to do. Please, I need you." I listened to it twice, then deleted it. And as the sound of rain tapped against my window, I realized something profound. I didn't hate him anymore. I didn't need to. Because while he was drowning in the mess he created, I was standing on the shore, free, healed, and finally me again. The night I deleted Ethan's voicemail was the night I truly started living again. It wasn't dramatic. No fireworks, no grand speech. Just me, sitting in my apartment, sipping tea, realizing I hadn't cried in weeks. The silence didn't ache anymore, it just existed. Healing isn't a straight line. It's more like walking through fog. You don't notice the moment it lifts. You just suddenly realize you can see clearly again. The next few months were a blur of progress. My work took off in ways I couldn't have imagined. Elena, my boss, pulled me aside one afternoon after a client pitch that landed us a major tech contract. "Liv, you've grown sharper, more decisive," she said, smiling. "I've watched you rebuild yourself piece by piece. How would you feel about leading a new division we're opening in San Francisco?" I blinked. "Wait me, you're serious." "As a heart attack," she laughed. "You've earned this. Take the weekend to think about it, but I'd love you to head the expansion." That night I called Maya. She screamed so loudly I had to hold the phone away. "Liv, that's huge. New city, new start, new you." Her enthusiasm was infectious, but part of me hesitated. Seattle had become my home, my safe zone after chaos. Could I really start over somewhere new? Daniel, my older brother, had no doubts. "You've already survived the worst," he said when I told him. "Now you get to choose something that's yours. Don't let fear make your decisions." By the end of the weekend, I said yes. Telling Alina was easy. Telling Maya was harder. We sat at our favorite diner, sharing pancakes and nostalgia. "I'm gonna miss you like crazy," she said, her eyes glassy. "Who am I supposed to make fun of guys with now?" I laughed. "You'll FaceTime me, probably daily." "You're damn right I will." We hugged for a long time. For the first time in years, the tears I cried weren't from heartbreak, they were from gratitude. Packing my apartment was bittersweet. As I boxed up old photos, I came across one of Ethan and me at a New Year's party, his arms around me, both of us smiling. For a brief second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then I remembered how he'd lied, manipulated, and made me question my worth. I tore the photo in half and tossed it. Some memories didn't deserve to come along. 2 weeks before the move, I ran into Liam again. I was grabbing coffee before work, and he appeared behind me in line. "Olivia Carter," he said, grinning. "The marketing star of Seattle. I saw your company's announcement. San Francisco, huh?" I smiled. News travels fast. "I'm impressed," he said. "I knew you'd do big things. You always had that focus." We ended up sharing a table, talking for nearly an hour. He told me he'd been freelancing with a few tech startups, considering relocating too. Something about him felt different this time, calmer, grounded, like someone who'd been through his own storms and learned how to walk through them without losing himself. When we said goodbye, he handed me a small notebook. "For your new chapter," he said, "write the good stuff in here, leave the old behind." The gesture was simple, but it stuck with me. Fresh air and forward motion. San Francisco hit me like a wave of sunlight and fog. The city buzzed with ambition. People moved fast, talked faster, and worked like their dreams were on deadlines. I moved into a cozy apartment near Pacific Heights. The first night, I stood by the window, watching the skyline glow, and whispered to myself, "You did it." The new job was demanding but fulfilling. I built a small team, young, creative, full of ideas. For the first time, I felt like a leader. One of my team members, Jasmine, reminded me of a younger version of myself, bright-eyed and eager. She often stayed late, brainstorming campaigns and bouncing ideas off me. "You really love what you do, huh?" she asked one night. "I didn't always," I admitted. "But I learned that when everything falls apart, you get to decide what's worth rebuilding." She smiled. "I hope I get there someday." "You will," I said. 6 months into my new life, I got a message from an unknown number. "Ethan, I saw your interview in marketing today. Congratulations. You look amazing. I'm proud of you." For a moment, I just stared at it. The nerve. I typed a dozen replies, sarcastic, angry, dismissive, then deleted them all. Finally, I settled on, "Me, thanks, I'm doing well. Hope you find what you're looking for." No bitterness, no invitation, just closure. He didn't reply. Later that night, Maya called. "You heard he got fired, right?" My heart skipped. "No, what happened?" Apparently, Amanda filed a complaint against him. HR did a full investigation. Turns out he'd been bending company policies, using client accounts for personal trips. He's blacklisted in finance now. I exhaled slowly. I didn't feel joy, just an odd sense of balance, like the universe quietly settling the score. A few weeks later, while attending a tech conference in Palo Alto, I spotted a familiar face among the crowd, Liam. He smiled when he saw me. "Fancy meeting you here, Miss Director." I laughed. "You didn't tell me you were speaking at this event." He shrugged. "Didn't think I'd make it in time. Last-minute panel slot." We spent the afternoon attending sessions, catching up between talks. It was easy, comfortable, like we'd known each other longer than we actually had. That evening, a group of attendees invited us for dinner. Halfway through, a thunderstorm rolled in, rare for the Bay Area. Everyone scattered for cabs, but Liam and I ended up sharing an umbrella as we walked back toward our hotels. The city glowed under rain-slicked streets. The moment was soft, cinematic almost. He looked at me then, really looked. "You seem different," he said quietly. "I am," I replied. "I think I finally learned how to breathe without waiting for someone to tell me I can." He smiled. "Good, you deserve that." We stood there for a moment, the sound of rain filling the space between us. No declarations, no promises, just understanding. Around that time, my mom called one evening. "Sweetheart, your dad and I were just talking about you. We're so proud." I smiled. "Thanks, Mom." "Ethan's mother ran into me at the grocery store," she added carefully. "She said he's been struggling, lost his job, his apartment, and Amanda. Apparently, she took off to New York." There was a pause. "Are you okay hearing that?" "Yeah," I said after a moment. "Actually, I am." "Good," she said softly. "Because you didn't deserve what he did. I hope you know that now." "I do." After we hung up, I sat in silence, staring out at the city lights. I didn't wish Ethan harm, but I couldn't deny there was a quiet satisfaction in knowing I'd risen while he'd fallen. Not because of revenge, but because I'd chosen myself. By the following year, I built a name in the industry. My campaigns were winning awards. My team adored me, and for the first time in my life, I felt unstoppable. Liam and I stayed in touch, coffee meetups, creative collaborations, occasional late-night calls about work that turned into long talks about life. There was a slow burn between us, something unspoken but undeniably real. One evening, after a company gala, he walked me to my car. "I read one of your interviews," he said. "You said something that stuck with me. Sometimes losing everything you thought you needed is what makes space for what you truly deserve." I smiled faintly. Did I really say that? "You did, and I think you meant it." He hesitated, then added, "Can I take you out sometime? A real date?" For the first time since Ethan, the idea didn't fill me with fear. It felt right. "I'd like that," I said. Meanwhile, elsewhere. A few months later, Maya sent me a photo, a social media screenshot of Ethan working at a small insurance office. His caption read, "New beginnings, learning from my mistakes." She texted, "Karma works overtime." I laughed but felt nothing more than distant curiosity. He looked older, worn out, like someone still trying to fix a shattered mirror with glue. I'd stopped checking his pages long ago, but sometimes the universe sent reminders, not to reopen wounds, but to show how far I'd come. One afternoon, during a marketing summit in New York, I was invited as a keynote speaker. As I stood on stage, looking at hundreds of faces, I remembered the girl who once cried herself to sleep over a man who couldn't love her right. Now, that girl was leading a room full of dreamers, telling them that failure wasn't an ending, it was a redirection. After the talk, I got a text from Liam. "Proud of you, dinner tonight to celebrate." Me, you read my mind. That night, we dined overlooking the skyline. Halfway through, Liam raised his glass. To healing, to second chances, and to finally choosing the right people. I clinked my glass against his, to finally choosing ourselves. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a survivor of heartbreak. I felt like the author of my own life. A year after I moved to San Francisco, my life looked nothing like it used to. I'd stopped measuring success by who I was with or how loved I felt by someone else. Success became the quiet mornings when I woke up excited for the day ahead, the laughter I shared with my team, the long drives along the coast with music blasting and no destination in mind. Healing had stopped being about forgetting Ethan. It became about remembering myself. It was a Wednesday afternoon when I got an email titled, "Subject, I owe you an apology." The sender, Ethan Reynolds. For a moment, my chest tightened, not from longing, but from sheer surprise. I hovered over the message for a full minute before clicking. "Liv, I don't expect you to respond. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean much now, but I've spent the last year realizing how badly I messed up. I hurt the only person who ever truly cared about me. I thought success would fill the void, but losing you showed me I was the problem all along. Amanda left months ago. I tried to fix things at work, but it's too late. I'm starting over now, and part of that means owning up to my mistakes. You didn't deserve any of it. I hope you're happy. I really do." I read it twice, then a third time. There was no anger, no manipulation this time, just exhaustion. I didn't reply, not because I wanted to punish him, but because there was nothing left to say. His closure wasn't mine to give. I closed my laptop, looked out at the sunset painting the skyline, and whispered to myself, "I forgive you." Not for him, for me. A few weeks later, I was in New York again for a collaboration between our firm and a major brand. The project was stressful, the kind that kept you up at 2 a.m. tweaking color palettes and ad copy. One night, as I left the office, my phone buzzed. "Liam, you still awake?" Me, barely, coffee. "Liam, meet me downstairs." He was waiting in the lobby, holding 2 cups of coffee and wearing that crooked grin that had slowly become my favorite sight. "You look like you've been through a war," he teased. "Creative war," I said, taking the cup. "We're almost there, though." We walked through the quiet streets, steam rising from the pavement after a summer rain. "You know," he said, "you've changed a lot since the night I first met you. You used to talk like you were trying to prove something to yourself mostly. Now you talk like you already did." I smiled softly. "That's because I did. I proved that I could survive without someone saving me." He stopped walking. "You know I'd never try to save you, right? I just want to walk beside you." There it was, that quiet, patient kind of love I didn't believe existed anymore. "I know," I said. "That's why it feels safe." That night, I wrote something in the notebook Liam had given me months before, the one labeled New Chapter. It wasn't a journal entry. It was a letter I'd never send. "Dear Ethan, you once told me I'd never find someone who'd love me the way you did. You were right, because now I have love that doesn't make me doubt my worth. Love that doesn't come with conditions or silence or guilt. You said I'd regret walking away. But the only thing I regret is how long it took me to realize that peace is better than passion, and self-respect is louder than apologies. I hope you find your peace too someday, because I finally found mine." I closed the notebook and tucked it away. Some words didn't need an audience, they just needed release. Months later, I was invited to speak at a women's leadership summit in Los Angeles. The topic: turning pain into power. As I stood on stage, I looked at the crowd. Hundreds of women, some nodding, some wiping tears. "When life breaks you," I said, "it's not trying to end you, it's trying to rebuild you. The version of yourself that rises after loss isn't weaker. She's wiser, stronger, and she no longer begs for what she deserves." When I finished, the applause was thunderous. But what meant the most was spotting Maya in the audience, cheering like I'd just won an Oscar. Afterwards, she hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "You did it, Liv. You actually did it." "I couldn't have without you," I said, smiling through tears. "Yeah, you could have," she said. "You just needed to remember who the hell you were." 2 months later, I got a text from Daniel. "You remember Ethan? He's back in Seattle, working at a small accounting office. I ran into him at the coffee shop downtown." I hesitated. How did he seem? Honestly, lost, like a guy who's still trying to fix things that can't be fixed. He asked how you were. I told him you're thriving. He smiled and said, "I'm glad." That was it. No drama, no confrontation. Just the quiet end of a story that had already written itself. Sometimes people fall apart because they refuse to grow. And sometimes, that's not your fault. By the following spring, Liam and I were officially together. Not because I needed him, but because I chose him. We built something real, slow, honest, and beautifully ordinary. Weekend farmers markets, cooking dinner together, late-night talks about dreams and fears. He never made me feel like I had to earn his affection. He just gave it, freely. One evening, we drove out to the coast, the same way Ethan and I once had, but this time, the air felt lighter. We sat on the hood of Liam's car, watching the waves crash below. He reached for my hand. "Do you ever think about how far you've come?" I nodded. "All the time. Sometimes I can't believe that girl who once begged to be loved is the same person sitting here now." He looked at me then, eyes soft but certain. "You're incredible, Olivia. Not because of what happened to you, but because of what you did with it." I smiled, feeling tears sting my eyes. Not from pain, but gratitude. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" "For walking beside me." He squeezed my hand. "Always." Epilogue. 2 years later, I stood in my own office, my name etched on the frosted glass door. Olivia Carter, founder and creative director, Nova Strategies. After years of hard work, I'd launched my own firm. Elena had become my mentor, Maya ran the PR side remotely from Seattle, and Liam, now my partner in both business and life, handled design and development. As we cut the ribbon on our new headquarters, I felt that same warmth I'd once only dreamed of, the peace of building something that's yours. My parents and Daniel were there, cheering. Jasmine, now a senior manager, hugged me like she was watching a sister achieve her dreams. After the ceremony, I stepped outside, letting the California sun hit my face. I thought of everything that had brought me here, the lies, the heartbreak, the nights I thought I'd never feel whole again. And I smiled, because it had all led me to this moment. Later that evening, as the celebration wound down, I got a message request on social media. The name made my heart skip, though not painfully anymore. Ethan Reynolds, saw the news about your company launch. Congratulations, Olivia. You deserve every bit of success. Take care. I stared at it for a long time, then smiled softly. For once, his words didn't make me ache or rage. They just existed, like an echo of another life. I typed back a single message. Me, thank you, Ethan. I wish you peace. And that was that. I closed my phone, turned to see Liam laughing with Maya and my team, and felt something I hadn't felt in years, complete. Not because of him, not because of anyone, but because I finally loved the person staring back at me in the mirror. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't watching someone lose everything. It's standing tall while they realize you never needed them to begin with. And in that truth, I found everything I'd ever been searching for.